Pinnacle Realty. How may I help you today?
Hello, I was wondering if I could get a house from you guys.
Of course. So I'd be happy to help you find the perfect house. To get started, could you tell me which area or location you're interested in?
Yes, I'm located in San Francisco, so I was wondering if you have any houses there.
Great, San Francisco it is. What type of home are you looking for? For example, a single-family house, condo, or townhouse?
For me, I love townhouses. It'd be perfect if it had maybe like 4 or 5 bedrooms and any amenities like a pool or garage would be great.
Got it. You're looking for a townhouse in San Francisco with 4 or 5 bedrooms, and amenities like a pool or garage would be ideal. Do you have a budget range in mind?
Yeah, my budget is probably maybe like $2 million max.
Thanks for sharing that. Let me take a moment to find some townhouses in San Francisco that match your preferences. I'll look for 4 to 5 bedroom options with amenities like a pool or a garage within your $2 million budget. One moment. Here are some townhouses in San Francisco that match your preferences. 1, 708 Pine Drive. Price $1,307,000. Amenities, solar panels, community gym 2. 407 Pine Drive. Price $1,493,000. Amenities, garage, pool 3. 830 Cherry Lane. Price $1,043,000. Amenities, backyard, community gym, pool, garage 4. 333 Willow Way. Price $1,159,000. Amenities, backyard, garage, solar panels 5. 61 Magnolia Road.
All right, that's
Price
enough.
700.
That's enough. I think I really like 708 Pine Drive the most.
Great choice. 708 Pine Drive is a fantastic option. Would you like to schedule an in-person tour to see the property?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Perfect. What date and time would you like to schedule the tour for 708 Pine Drive?
I'd love to schedule it for Thursday, which is just tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Checking availability for Thursday at 1 p.m. for the tour. Good news. The time slot for Thursday at 1 p.m. is available. Could you please provide your name and email so I can finalize the booking?
Yeah, my name is Mekan, and my email is isaac112@gmail.com.
Let me make sure that time is open one last time. Your tour for 708 Pine Drive has been successfully booked for Thursday at 1 p.m. Beacon. If you have any other questions or need assistance, feel free to let me know.
So what you just saw right there is an AI voice agent that I built for a client previously who owns a real estate agency. And what this agent does is it picks up the phone, then it recommends properties from its knowledge base around any area that they have available, and it finds them a couple properties. Then the caller chooses a property and then gets booked for an in-person tour. Now, of course, here, as you saw in the demo a couple minutes ago, I chose 708 Pine Drive, and as you can see, it asked me for my availability, and I was able to get it booked for 708 Pine Drive with my email. Of course, this is just a sample email. As you can see, the agent is doing a lot of things, from answering general questions about the property and then querying the database that we have over here all about the property, and then it also simply books the caller for a tour of the property. Now, this is very helpful, especially for solo real estate agents, because if you don't have an assistant, then you're going to have to be handling these calls yourself. And now this is what the human agent would have to do. But now that we have this AI agent over here, it can simply book in-person tours for you. All that you have to do is actually worry about building client relationships and actually closing deals, which is more of the fun part rather than this boring part of answering all the calls and having to worry about this stuff. Of course, this has many benefits, such as simply saving costs and time for the real estate agent. And on top of that, it can simply close more deals for you by getting more leads, more in-person tours booked, and then you handle the rest. Now, there's a lot of benefits to this. The main thing is the 24/7 availability. Like, come on, can you find anybody out there that can always answer calls for you just by themselves? No, you can't. This is why the voice AI agent is really useful. Another thing is that before, a couple years ago, these AI agents and the voice AI agents specifically used to be very laggy, because it would work with a bunch of different back-end things and it would take time to get you a response. But here it's almost instant. It instantly responds and it actually sounds like a human. Another really important benefit of this is that it saves you money. Now, as a solo real estate agent, you wouldn't want to have to hire somebody else to handle your calls and messages. This simply handles your calls for you and it books in-person tours, so you just have to do the rest and work from there. Now, this is very customizable and scalable for any agency. Of course, I know that a lot of realty companies and real estate companies have many agents, so we could customize this. You could make an agent for every single real estate agent that you have under your company. But if you're a solo agent and you have a website, you can also upload your website as the knowledge base. And you don't even have to convert it into an Excel file like I did. Of course, mine was just a proof of concept, which is why I put it inside of this Google Sheets, and then I uploaded that into Retell as the knowledge base. But of course, you can upload your website as well, and the agent will scrape your website data and train itself based on that. So I know a lot of real estate agents, such as you guys, could have some websites and then you put all your listings there, so you don't even need to set up this little Excel file that I have over here. You can just put your website and it'll immediately know all the properties you have available, as long as you're updating it. Now, of course, after you know the benefits and how this agent works, it's time to move on to Retell AI. Before we get into that, let me just give a quick overview of how this agent works. So essentially what we do in this agent is, all it does is it has this knowledge base over here, which I'm going to show you how to add. So I have this San Francisco Homes Pinnacle Realty. That is simply this file over here. I downloaded it and I uploaded it into the knowledge base for the agent. Now, you can customize this however you want. Over here, let me go back to Retell AI. As you can see, you're able to have any knowledge base that you want. I just have a file. If we click on edit, you can also add any web page. So if you have a website like, let's say, pinnaclerealty.com, or if you're a solo real estate agent and you have your listings on your own website, then it can scrape your website and train itself on your listings. So it'll know all the listings you have and what properties to recommend to all the people who are calling. Now, after it trains itself on this data, which is really quick, only a couple seconds, all it does is that it picks up the call and it immediately asks, are you looking for a property, or do you have a property in mind and you're trying to get an in-person tour? Then it checks with make.com. Now, make.com is an automation software and it's usually in the form of a website. It's very simple and I'm going to be showing it in this tutorial for sure. Now, this is the make.com scenario to book the appointment, and this is for our Retell agent. As you can see, it's very simple. It kind of looks just like a little workflow, and I actually kind of like how this one looks. Now, this one is pretty complicated, but of course I'm going to be going over it and I'm going to show you how everything works. Now, this is for checking availability. As you can see here, you can immediately clock that we have some Google Calendar nodes. These are called nodes, you can call them modules as well. But we have some Google Calendar nodes, and that simply goes onto our Google Calendar. Of course, this is my personal one, and it checks your availability. Since Google Calendar is very customizable, if you have your own schedule or if you have other events, like let's say we had an event here, then of course it wouldn't let somebody schedule an in-person tour. Now, this is amazing because as a solo real estate agent or as a real estate agent who's working for a company, you don't want two in-person tours to be clashing because you have to be there physically and you can't do both at the same time. Now, all it does is if they have a property in mind, then it moves on to the state of booking this property for them. Of course, all we work with is Retell AI and make.com. And of course, Google Calendar is just our CRM that we're making it work with. Now, you could also make a make.com scenario to check with this Google Sheets. You can make it however you want, but just to make it more simpler for you guys, you might be beginners, I simply wanted to just download this and then upload this into the knowledge base because I thought it'd be a lot simpler. Now, let's get into the real Retell AI part of this. All you're going to do is you're going to go to retellai.com. You're going to make an account, of course, sign in, and they give you a free trial of 1 hour, which is approximately $10-ish. And you're able to test out your agents, make some demo agents, try it out, and then if you like it, you can pay. Now, you're going to create an agent. It's going to be a multi-prompt agent. So you can click it here. They have a couple templates over here, but it's best to start from blank because all the resources that I show in this video are going to be linked in the description below on my Notion site. I have the templates for the make.com, which I'm going to show you how to use right away. And I have this system prompt as well, and workflow states for the retail. Now, there's a lot to unpack here, especially for retail, so I'm going to start with this. So, if this is your first time watching me, then you probably haven't heard about this system prompt before. I talked about it in last week's video as well. So this is the system prompt, and it's essentially like the brain for the AI agent. The AI agent needs this system prompt over here to tell it what to do. Now, as you can see, it's best to section it, put some spaces, and then put hashtag to let it know what section that the text is for, so that it knows the different parts of its conversations. So for example, we have a role. Your name is Anna, you're an experienced assistant who works at Pinnacle Realty, a real estate company. And then any specific rules, any notes. Now, if you don't know this, then I'm going to tell you this right now. AI works best when it's role-playing. Now, this connects to any type of AI. I've worked with coding AI agents as well, instead of this type of workflow, all no-code stuff. By the way, this is all no-code. You don't have to code at all for this, because I'm providing everything to you as well. Now, any AI always works best when it's role-playing. Even with ChatGPT, that's really all prompt engineering is. All it is that you're making it role-play. You're just trying to get the best answer out of ChatGPT or any other conversational AI that you can. Now, that's why role-playing is the best, because you put this AI bot into this sense of an identity, and it works better when it has this identity. So of course, this is the system prompt. It's not super long. You can also use ChatGPT to make you a quick system prompt. You can tell it to make sections for rules and how the role is going to play. And of course, it'll make it right away for you. But as you can see here, we have some call functions. So it tells it to call the transfer call function, which was just made by ChatGPT. I can remove that right now. But anyways, I have this linked in the Notion website in the description, so you can copy and paste this right away. Essentially, you can get this agent up and running within maybe 30 minutes max. Now, another important part over here is that it has this welcome message. Now, you can choose for the AI bot to remain silent until the caller speaks first, or you can have it begin with a message. Now, of course, our first message is, "Hello, this is Anna from Pinnacle Realty. How may I help you today?" It's very basic, and that's all we're doing for right now. As you can see, we do have no functions here because that's in our prompt tree, which is over here. It's better to link it in the prompt tree if you have very specific custom functions. And we have this knowledge base over here. As I showed you guys before, this knowledge base is simply this Google Sheets file, which I downloaded and put it into a knowledge base. So it knows all of the records and all of the listings that I have over at Pinnacle Realty. So now, without further ado, I think it'd be best to show you guys the prompt tree. Okay, so as you guys can see, we are now in the prompt tree. When you first start your agent, it's probably going to have either one starting state and nothing else after, so you can just click on new state to add as many states as you want. I only have two over here. As you can see, the first state is called recommend properties, and it has quite a bit of text inside of it. Now, this prompt over here is kind of like our system prompt, and it's not exactly the brain of the agent, but it simply tells it what to do in this state of the conversation. This state tree is simply just the different states that we have during the flow of our conversation. So imagine a flow chart, but less basic, more broad in what we need to do. Of course, first it's going to recommend some properties, or if the caller already has some properties that they have in mind, then it's just going to immediately transition to scheduling the tour that's going to show up in Google Calendar. Of course, I do have everything for free in my Notion website. I have this state. All you're going to do to replicate it right away is click on New State. You can copy this state name if you want. The state name doesn't matter too much because it's just to tell the AI what it's going to do. And this part is very important. This you should copy. Just copy and paste it right into your prompt. Now, what's important here is we go over to recommend properties. This doesn't have any custom tools because since I made it work with the knowledge base that I uploaded, it's just going to query its own knowledge base. You can do the same, or you can make a make.com scenario and try to do it through there. I find it a lot simpler though to upload your knowledge base and have the AI agent query for properties and recommend them from your knowledge base, because that way it's a lot easier and everything is built in. I try to keep everything inside of Retell as much as I can. Now, this section over here, schedule tour, is kind of confusing. I'm going to try my best to explain it the best I can to make sure that you guys aren't confused as all. So, before we go into that, you need to make sure that you understand that this edge is simply what the condition is. Like, what do you want to happen so that you can transition from the first state to the next state? Of course, after it recommends the properties, I want the caller to choose a property, and then it should transfer into an in-person tour. So now we're into the scheduled tour state of the conversation. So now the AI agent knows that this caller wants this house, they've chosen this one, and they want to view this property in person, so let's book them a tour. Of course, we section this as well, just like our system prompt, and this is available on my Notion site, everything. All the templates are available. So simply copy and paste it and have your basic version, your MVP, up and running as soon as possible so you can customize it however you want. Now, as you can see here, I do have two custom functions. Now, to replicate this, all you're going to do is when you have your state, you're going to click on it, you're going to click on Tools, because it is considered a tool. So you're going to click on Add Tool, and then Custom Function. Now, this custom function simply calls your own API. As you can see, it does have some other functions that are built in with Retell AI, such as checking cal.com availability and then booking on cal.com or transferring the call, but those aren't necessary to us since I want to use Google Calendar. Now, let me delete this. Of course, we have two functions over here. Once again, everything is available on my Notion site. The link is in the description. All of this is available. I just give it away for free. We have the name of the custom function, and this would take some time to write out yourself, but of course use ChatGPT as much as you can because it's very helpful for this type of AI agent work. Now, all it's going to do is it's going to call this URL and send it this data. Now, as you can see, this data, if you've never worked with any type of JSON or programming before, it definitely looks pretty strange, but it's very readable. Simply, all it is that we define the type of things that we have. So, for example, here, properties, which is the name of the lead, time, the date and time that we want to book. And what else do we have? Oh, I accidentally deleted something. Let me go back here. Okay. So first, of course, it checks the availability. This URL right here is a webhook to make.com. And that would be this specific scenario. Now, first, of course, I'm going to go through the Retell AI part, and then I will immediately transition back to the make.com scenario to explain every single step, and I'll show you how to replicate it yourself based on the file that I provided, which is a template in the Notion. So, of course, it simply calls this URL and it sends it some data. That's all you need to understand. Now, this description part, it would be best if you would put something. I don't think I put this in my Notion template, but you can change this to whatever you want. You don't even have to have this here. It's just simply to help the AI agent understand what it's doing when this function is being called. You can call it whatever you want, but just remember that when you reference this function anywhere else inside of your system prompt or in your AI agent is going to have the exact same name so it knows which function to call. Anyways, so overall workflow here is it sends data to this URL and what it's sending is in the form of a string. It sends the requested date and time to check availability for. So if you imagine this, it's simply, let's say I'm calling the AI agent and I'm saying, yeah, is tomorrow at 1 p.m. free? And then it's going to send this to our make.com scenario, which is then going to check for availability. Now, this second custom function, I called it book appointment, and all it does is it actually books the appointment onto Google Calendar. Now, what this does is it simply passes the date and the time for booking, the address of the property, and the email and name to be used to book on Google Calendar. Right here, as you can see, I have the guest's email and the name. As you can see, it got my name wrong. My name is Mekhan, not Bekhan. But anyways, it also has the time that I asked it for. As you can see, the last section of this is simply required, and you're just going to put the names of the objects that you need to have for the function. Of course, it gives you examples. Like for example, let me just copy this to make sure. So it gives you examples like this, so then you can customize it yourself. But I have everything linked in the Notion down in the description, so you can just copy it and use it for your own thing right away. Now, that's all for Retell AI, I believe. All you have to really remember, if you're feeling really confused at the end of this section, all you have to remember is that these states are simply the different states of a conversation. Imagine a flow chart, but a lot broader. Of course, we're not going to make 8 different states for a simple conversation where all we're doing is recommending a property and then scheduling a tour, because that would be too much. So we broaden it up to simply it recommends the property. When it has the property in hand, then it's going to move on to scheduling the tour. Now, in the next section, I'm going to cover the make.com scenarios, and those are pretty lengthy. So I'm going to make sure that I show you guys how to implement it in your own make.com account and immediately get that hooked up. So that's all for this section, and now we're going to move on to make.com. So as you can see, we're now in our make.com scenarios. This is a folder of the scenarios that I'm using for this real estate agent booking system. And all you have to do to replicate this on your own is you simply go to make.com and you're going to sign up for an account. After you sign up for an account, it gives you a free trial. And the free version is, I would say, enough for a solo real estate agent. It might not be enough for more of a big corporation or a real popular realty agency, but it's definitely enough for a solo real estate agent. But of course, you are going to have to actually start paying for your Retell AI bot. Anyways, all we're going to do is you're going to create a new scenario and you're going to import the scenario that I've given in the Notion description. Of course, now what you have to realize is that these scenarios can get very lengthy. As you saw in the previous one, this scenario specifically is very, very long. It seems super complicated, but I promise you it really isn't. I'm going to make sure I explain everything the best I can. But all of this template for this scenario and the other scenarios, which is only one scenario, we only have 2 scenarios in this AI agent, are on the Notion down below in the description. Go to the Notion, download it, and I'll show you how to import it right now. So as you can see, I have a new scenario. Let me make a new scenario to show you guys how to import it. Now, all you have to do to import the scenario that I've given is you click on these 3 dots over here, which is more, and you click on import blueprint. Now they call it a blueprint, and I think it's an interesting name, but it comes through a JSON format, and you can click on any one of them. I'm going to choose the book appointment one. Actually, let's do the check availability one because it's a lot more complicated. You're going to import it and click save. Now, as you can see, everything is pasted. But remember, it is not formatted for you right now. You are not able to immediately turn this on and start using it right away. First of all, it's going to ask you to make a different webhook. So you're going to create a webhook. Remember, as I explained in the last section, a webhook is simply a URL that can take in data. So just think of it as like a post office. This is your personal post office that can take in letters or data, any type of message. And what we pass to it is what the caller requested. So you're going to create a webhook. It's very simple. You can call it whatever you want. You're going to click save, and it's going to give you a URL. And then you have to make sure that when you import it, you're making everything for yourself. Because my credentials are not available through the imported blueprint. For example, this ChatGPT, it has my connection, but you have to make your own connection with your own either API key, or if you have the pro version of ChatGPT, you're going to need that. Just so you guys know, this is not completely free. It's definitely free to try it out because you can get a ChatGPT OpenAI key for very, very cheap. I think sometimes it is free, but it is going to take some money for you to kind of experiment around with this, but it's definitely not going to take a lot. As you can see, this Retell AI, when you sign up for your first account, it gives you an hour of free calling, 1 whole hour. So that's definitely enough to test around and build your own agent specifically for you. Now, all you have to do is you have to go through every single connection and you have to make it personalized to you. Now, what this means is that you have to put in your own ChatGPT connection. You have to connect your own Google Calendar. I have mine connected, but that's because it's in my account and I imported my own blueprint, so it's going to be the exact same. You have to, this is just a webhook response, so as long as you have this webhook configured, then this webhook response is going to be configured as well. This is another Google Calendar. You're going to have to make your own connection and select it, and for the rest, it's just like before. You simply have to take this ChatGPT and make your own connection from your own either pro OpenAI account, or if you have an OpenAI API key, that would be even better. Now, let me show you guys how this works. Now, I'm going to move over to my real scenario that I have configured, and I'm simply going to show you guys how every single module, or shall we say node, works. You can see it's this one, real estate booking system. So first of all, we have this check availability for home selling consultation. Now, you can call it whatever you want. I know mine has a really long name. I'm not really sure why, but I think that just came with it when I imported mine. But anyways, I have my webhook configured. And of course, when you make your own webhook, it's going to look just like this. It's this little URL here that you're going to copy and you're going to paste it into this function over here. You're going to make your own custom function as I showed before, and your URL is simply this make.com webhook. Of course, I know I repeated myself a lot, but a webhook is just a place that you can send data to. Now, what it does after it gets this webhook is it takes in the time that they said and it converts it into GMT plus 7. Now, we need this format to be able to check on Google Calendar because Google Calendar only accepts this very specific format. Let me show you guys here, for example. As you can see, when your workflow actually runs, you turn it on and it runs, then you can see all the data that was put in and out of it. As you can see, webhook, custom webhook. So what was sent from the call is this. Simply, we have these arguments. The time is Thursday at 1, and we have to check availability on our Google Calendar for it. Now, Thursday at 1, we can't work with that with Google Calendar right away, which is why we have to put it inside of ChatGPT, and then we have to convert it into a time that it does work with Google Calendar. Now, Google Calendar works with this very strange kind of time format. I think it is GMT plus 7. As you can see, the messages, where is the result? Yes, the result is over here. I think this is an ISO version, but the result that the ChatGPT gave is simply this. Yes, as you can see, I think this is GMT plus 7 format. I'm not really sure, but as you can see, it's a very strange format. Like off the top of your head, you can see and understand the date based off of this format, but we can't just take in Thursday at 1 p.m. and put it inside of Google Calendar because it's not going to work. We have to make sure that we have it at the same format as this does. Now, after it takes it in, then it checks is it available or not. As you can see here, for our ChatGPT, all you have to do is you have to make your connection, and then the messages that I've configured inside of the template are going to show up right away. So you don't have to change those at all. Unless you're in a different time zone, then you would have to change those. As you can see, our arguments.time. This comes straight from the webhook, and all it's doing is that it's converting this time, which is Thursday at 1 p.m., into that format, which is like 2025-02-26, all of that. Now, what it does is it goes to Google Calendar and it checks minimum time. The result is here. Right over here, you can see it takes in this time and it checks. Do we have that time up until an hour from that time? So let's say Thursday at 2 p.m. Do we have from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m.? Are we busy or are we available? And it just takes in the calendar. You can choose whichever calendar you want. I have a couple calendars, as you can see, holidays in the United States, New York restaurant, Los Angeles restaurant. These were for other clients, but I'm using my main primary personal calendar, and it simply checks, is this guy available? Is there availability on our calendar for this time? Now, from there, it's going to say something. It's either going to push it into an array and tell us, yes, he is busy and he has this event, or it's going to be like, he's busy, but it's going to be an empty array. Now, we have these filters in here, which simply takes in this, which is from our Google Calendar Get Free or Busy Information module, and it takes in this array. Now, if I was busy, this array would contain something inside of it, which is why this condition where we are not available, I have it set to just fallback. So this first condition is kind of like an if statement. If this array, busy, is equal to 0, then that means we're available. And then if we are available, it just goes over to this webhook response module. Now this webhook response simply goes and tells Retell AI, yes, that slot is available. As you can see, this is all it tells the bot. Yes, that time is available. You can go ahead and book it. But if it isn't available, if this busy array has something inside of it, which means that there is another event at that time, which makes us unavailable, then it's going to simply move over to Google Calendar and check what time is available. It's going to take in the minimum time, which is simply today, and it's going to check for today, from 24 hours from now, what times am I available? And it's going to JSON format this, and it's going to push it through ChatGPT a couple times. Let's go deep into this, as you can see. It simply asks it to convert all of these JSON times that we are available into that format, and then another module finds alternative times. So for example, we have this very confusing format where it's like 2025-02-026 at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. and then maybe 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's when we're available. That's what goes through this JSON right over here. The thing is, we need to convert that back into our actual time for us to be able to say to the user, to the caller, oh yeah, we're available maybe instead of tomorrow at 2 p.m., we're available tomorrow at 3 p.m. Now, all it does is it converts it to our time format that we need. It finds the alternative times compared to the time that they asked for before. Because if they ask for 2 p.m., we don't want to throw them away and say, oh, are you available at 8 p.m.? Because that's way too far away. That's why we use ChatGPT to find an alternative time that's somewhere around the time that they were asking for. Now, of course, after that, it's simply going to generate this message and put that into the webhook response. Now, this looks very complicated, but is actually somewhat simple. I feel like these 3 ChatGPT modules are what make it look kind of complicated because, you know, the numbers, the amount of modules makes it seem more complicated than it is. But think of it this way. It's simply going to convert the time into the format that we need for Google Calendar. It's going to check if we're available. If it is available, then it simply tells the bot, the voice AI agent, yes, we're available for that time. If it isn't available, then it's going to say, nope, sorry, we're not available. And it's going to look for different times around the time that they were asking. So if they ask for 2 p.m., it's going to say we're available at 3, or maybe we're available at 11, but it's not going to say some out of the moon type of time. It's not going to say like 11 p.m. we're available. It's going to say sometime that's around what they were wanting. And then lastly, it's going to send them this webhook response, which is the array. And this is from ChatGPT. It simply tells them, oh, we're available here. For example, this result says, unfortunately, your time slot was not available, but we have these available times as well, so you can choose from there. Now, this, as I said before, comes straight from my template. Everything is loaded in my template. All you have to do is make your own webhook, and you have to connect your own OpenAI API key or your maybe Pro ChatGPT license, and then you have to connect your Google Calendar. That's it. All of the prompts for the ChatGPT nodes are already built in. As long as you import the template, the blueprint that I put in my Notion, then it's going to have all the ChatGPT responses, the ChatGPT requests, all the descriptions, all the questions that it's asking ChatGPT. It's going to have that built into the templates already. Now, we're going to move over to the next make.com scenario, which is a lot simpler than this. And after that, that'll probably be it for today's video. Now, as you can see here, we've moved on to the other make.com scenario. This is only 4 modules. It's so much simpler. Of course, everything, all the templates, all of the system prompts, all of the make.com scenarios and blueprints are linked in my Notion site down below. So you can simply download it and, of course, import it, like I showed you before, to replicate this for your own real estate practice. Now, this is a different scenario, so we have to make a different webhook. Now, a webhook has to be unique. You can't use the same webhook to kind of receive different data. Or you can't use 2 webhooks to receive the same data. 1 webhook per scenario is usually what it works like. And these are very, very simple. All you have to do is you make a webhook, you give it a name, and it gives you this URL for you to receive data from. Now, of course, as we go over to Retell AI, in the first function, all it was sending our make.com scenario was the requested date and time for us to check, is this available? Now that we have the date and time that we want to book the appointment for, what we're going to do is we're going to finalize the booking by simply getting their name, the date and time for the booking, the address, the email, and that's it. Any notes they have, we can also add. That's kind of unnecessary. So it's going to send all of this data to our webhook in make.com, as I showed you right here. Then it's going to send the time to ChatGPT to get it in the format for Google Calendar, as I talked about before. I think, yeah, it's GMT +7. I'm not sure if that's a real format or if that's just more of a time zone, a universal time zone. But anyways, as you can see, the webhook, it gets these arguments. The name is Bekhan, which is wrong, but my name is a little different than a lot of people's. So if your name is like John or any normal name, it'll immediately recognize it. So anyways, the name, the time, the notes, which is the address, and the email. Of course, this was just a random email I said for this demo. Anyways, as I said before, if you missed that part, let me say it again. We simply have to convert this time that we have into a time that we can format, that's correctly formatted for Google Calendar. Of course, we can't just shove Thursday at 1 p.m. into Google Calendar and expect it to work and make us an event. So we're just going to convert that into the time that we need. And as you can see, it's going to give us the formatted time, which is 2025-02-27T13. Now, right from reading that, I can tell that it's going to be for February 27th, 2025 at the time 13, which is, I believe, 1 p.m. So that's very easy to read, but simply we have to convert it into this time format for Google Calendar to be able to make the event. And then as you can see in this example, we're just going to have it as Pinnacle Realty -tour 4 and then the name. We're going to put it in my calendar. Now, if I was a solo real estate agent, you simply connect your own calendar and that'll be all, the duration and the location. Of course, it would be better if I go into the diagram view to show this to you guys so then I can actually click. Now, as you can see, you have to make your own ChatGPT OpenAI connection for this. As you can see, I have my own. You're just simply going to add one, and that's going to be it. You're going to connect that, and it's going to be able to work with your Pro license if you have one, or an API key that you have. And you have to connect your Google Calendar, which is simply this over here. You have to log in with Google to your Google Calendar. It's completely free, and all you have to do is be able to log in so that it has the permissions to make the events or check for your availability. In this case, we're just making the events. As you can see, I have this calendar ID. You can make it whatever color you want, of course. And then the event name, you can put some text. So let's say if you were a solo real estate agent, you could just say your name dash tour for, and then the name of the caller who's going to come for the in-person tour. You're going to have the start date, and you can choose an end date as well. You're going to have to make another ChatGPT node for that, but simply you can just put it as a 1 hour duration or 30-minute duration, however much you want. Okay, location and description comes in from our nodes, which is just the address that we passed in. And as you can see, that's pretty much it. Now, there's a bunch of other settings, but you don't have to worry about those. Of course, everything that I put in the template, in the blueprint, which is in the Notion site, has all of this already ready. All you're going to have to do is you're going to have to change these. As you can see, when it shows up as 1.args.nodes, that's for me. Since it's my account and I have this working and in production, it's going to work. But I'm pretty sure when you import my blueprint into your make.com, it's going to show like mecon.g.1.args.nodes. So you need to run through it. You need to capture some data. Then you need to simply put this block inside of here and replace mine. That's all you have to do to get it working. And of course, if you have any questions, you can immediately just comment down below. I read all the questions, all the comments, so I got you if you need any help. Now, it's simply going to make an event and then tell the AI agent, yes, your appointment has been successfully booked. And that's it for the make.com scenarios. Now, all you really have to do to replicate this on your own is download all the resources that I put in the Notion. The resources go from the system prompt over here. Let me go to the system prompt. It ranges from this system prompt to the knowledge base I've provided to even the states over here with all the system prompts that you need. And you can replicate this within an hour for sure. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And that's all you need to make this for your own practice and implement this for your own real estate agency. And that's how to make your own Retell AI agent to implement into your own real estate practice. Of course, I've given all of the resources down below in the description. Simply copy me and copy and paste all of the prompts. If you need to change any of the prompts for your own practice, then simply change them. You can ask ChatGPT to help you out with any specifics that you need. And of course, I'm here in the comments. You can talk to me or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to help you out. Of course, this is a pretty simple agent, even though it looks pretty complicated, but there are many more complicated agents, and those will be in the next videos. Anyways, if you haven't watched anything so far, a quick summary is that this agent will answer any questions for you. It'll respond to all your customers' queries, and it'll get them booked for an in-person tour.